Hello everyone, my name is Alexander Kolomets, and this is a little bit different video because I'm not going to show you a project I'm already done, but the one I'm currently working on. That's because even considering the fact that the work is in progress, I think I still have an interesting things to show you. My project is a graphical UI I'm writing in the C programming language. I didn't develop it from the ground, but took my past project as a base. I thought that UI will fit better with OOP, so I took my OOP in C project to begin with. I also use OpenGL, Glute, and GLWF3 libraries for rendering, and anything else you can find in this video I wrote myself. So let me show you the program. When it starts, you can see a bunch of UI elements arranged in the same way. Here we have a label saying demo. Label is an element that's responsible for displaying text. That's its main purpose. Next we have 6 elements that looks like buttons, and from the text on them we can say that indeed they are. Buttons are different from labels in the way that button can be enabled or disabled. By the way, button is extended from label to bring these capabilities and to semantically divide them. If we then take a look on the place where the buttons are located, we can see some sort of panes. Here the first pane that holds first 3 buttons, and here's the second pane that holds another 3. Actually, there are third pane that located at the root of the window and holds all these elements. So these panes are nothing else but linear layouts. If you're familiar with Android linear layouts, then they are pretty much the same, and if you don't, then linear layout is a type of layout that arranges its element in the linear way from left to right or from top to bottom. So let's deconstruct this scene. As I already mentioned, we have a linear layout located at the root of the window and occupying all the window space. It has 3 elements, label, linear layout, and another linear layout. So let's take a look at the first element, label. What I didn't say you is that linear layout is responsible not only for arrangement but for scaling too. This element has a long scale of wrap content. A long scale is a scale along the linear layout. For example, if the linear layout is horizontal, then the scale will be applied on the element's width, and if the linear layout is vertical, as with this case, the scale will be applied on the element's height. So this element, this label, has a long scale of wrap content. That means that it will occupy as much space vertically as it can. Another thing we can say about this label is that it is right aligned. That means that no matter how I will scale this layout, this label will always touch the right edge of the linear layout. Next we have 2 linear layouts. They have a long scale of weighted. First linear layout has a weight of 2 and the second linear layout has a weight of 1. That means that first linear layout will be twice longer than the second one. Here we can see it by scaling the window. So okay. Now let's take a look at the first layout. It has 3 buttons. First and third button have a long scale of weighted. First button has a weight of 1 and third button has weight of 2. Second button has a long scale of wrap content. So we can see that while first button of the sum width, third button is twice longer and second button remains unchanged. Another thing we can say about these buttons is that first button has a cross scale of wrap content, second button has a cross scale of none, That means that linear layout will not change its height. And third button has a cross scale of match parent. That means that it will try to occupy as much space as possible. Second linear layout holds 3 buttons that has both across and along scales of wrap content, and both centered horizontally and vertically. So, as you may notice already, we have a bunch of text popping out from terminal. This text notifies us when, where, and what events are generated. For example, if I move my mouse on some element, there are message pops out from terminal. The system will generate an event, in this case mouse over event, and send it to the element I moved my mouse on. And while this happens, we can see the address of the element in the terminal and the name of the event mouse over. If I then move my mouse out, we can see the address of the same element and event mouse out. I also have mouse down, mouse up, mouse click events, focus, blur, scroll, mouse drag, mouse drop, key events, and so on. So while these events are generated, they are not handled yet. This feature will be added in the future. So all these elements, labels, buttons, linear layouts, has a bunch of parameters you can play with. For example, padding, margin, color, fonts, but I will not show you this in this video, because all this stuff work as you expect them to work, and this is not interesting. What is interesting is how these elements got here. So I have my I have a root folder of my project. In the resources folder, we have an XML file that contains layout for our elements. So here we can see our linear layout located at the root of the window. It contains label, another linear layout, and another one. This layout contains 3 buttons, as this layout does. So all these elements has its own properties and so on. So I really like the idea of putting layout in the separate files, as does Android or JavaFX, and not hard coding them. Now I'm working on the CSS part of the project, which also will bring a lot of helpful things, and after that I will move to event handling mechanisms. But for now, thanks you very much for watching. Have a good day, have a good day, have a good night, and goodbye.